Aren't we watching, I'm saying here, after we're watching an internal organic TV jumble of fantasy and reason at least 8 hours a day, if not more? So you only get a rest on that internal talk when you go to sleep, if you can go to sleep. Now, the first thing I said was that thinking was part of a large psychotechnology, and now I want to say it's part also of a large biotechnological activity. A kind of transition or transformation system between our personal nervous system and the electronic environment. Basically, we have all these media, and you know the word medium means interface. It means that which is in between the body and the world outside. So McLuhan's or Wuhan's idea that all media are extensions of different parts of the body or different parts of our mental faculties is a very apt one. But basically, you can look at the electronic environment as mediations or transformation between the nervous system and the electronic system. The electronic system outside acting as a technical nervous system, the nervous system within you acting as an electricity potential modulator that works at all kinds of levels of sensory and mental or cognitive inputs and responses. So that you begin, if you can understand the world of technology outside and the world of neurology within as communicating through these media, then the meaning of each individual medium and the specific features of each medium become very relevant. They become very specific, and you can begin to learn how to deal with those media in a much more organic fashion and understand something which I believe is very relevant to art. By the way, most of what I'm going to say really is guided by meditation on art and technology rather than just general psychology or biology of media. The externalization of image processes via TV is not an isolated feature of our technological environment. It is included in the more general outering of our nervous system by electricity. Our sensory modalities are externalized by television. Our intellectual faculties are wired into the environment by computers as effective technical resources. Now, computers are the processors. Not only are they processors because they have processors within the machine, but they themselves act as processors for a great deal of cognitive activity which is outered from our body inside the environment. But when you talk about computers and you talk about media and so on, you can't forget the humble old telephone, which is the fundamental image, the archetypal image of a networking system. The telephone, or the old telegraph, where everything began, the telephone and telegraph are the nervous system of a community. I would say the planet, if that unity was already existing, but it's on its way, it's not there yet. But basically, the telephone have put all of America in touch with all of America, and now put us in touch with anywhere in the world, anywhere we want to reach. That is itself a very important aspect of what I'm talking about in this global nervous system or global electronic nervous system that is happening around us. And computers, of course, have embarked on the telephone line incredibly. Today, the big discussion is about whether or not we should integrate all the other media into main highways, electronic highways, which would be the computer or what's called the ISDN, the Integrated System of Data Networking, whether we should do it or not. Businesses, you will find, are resisting an integrated system because they want to protect their own turf. Business has a great deal to do with all this, and I will get to this quite quickly. But if you want to understand an image of what I'm talking about in terms of collective thinking, collective imaging, and so on, take the recent Canadian elections. They have demonstrated the power of television to motivate pro and con a whole nation on a single issue at a single moment. And that was when John Turner attacked Mulroney on free trade at the national televised debate October 25th. I was in charge of commenting on the images of the candidates at the time, and I was asked to look at this debate very carefully. I looked at the French one and looked at the English one. I could have never foreseen the unbelievable response that Turner and the whole Liberal Party got. They actually got 40 seats out of that single moment. 40 seats. That's an incredible amount of votes for a single well-placed statement. I'm not saying that I'm justifying liberals or conservatives. I'm not taking a position. What I'm saying is, on television, millions of Canadians looked at something that changed their mind in a few seconds. Now, That's one thing. That's one aspect. It shows the power of TV. You already know about the power of TV telling you stuff. and carving for you the parameters of your life. We won't get into that, although this is part of the general discourse on television as well. But just to give you an example of what television does in a single moment. Now, what I'm saying here is TV. If I'm adding something with a new electronic environment, then I also use the same example of the elections, because in 10 days, the fortunes of the liberals, which were so high that at one point some analysts were saying that they might even beat the Conservative or bring down the Conservative to a minority government, in 10 days they peaked and fell. And how did they fall? Because of polling system. Because of a clever analysis by computers of day-to-day changes in the mood of Canadians about the elections, and of course also a clever management of negative campaigning on radio and on TV and in the press, particularly on radio, very powerful on radio. So here you have a media concert that organizes a collective mind at work. I mean, it's really, and I'm giving you these examples to make them very present to you as Canadians and as members of this society. It is a very, very recent one. There are so many other fields in this. Take, for instance, the Ben Johnson affair. When Ben Johnson wins, we all look at it as a single cry that rises from the country. My first experience of a Canadian, because I was born in Belgium, and to become a Canadian was a marvelous thing for me. But my first experience as being a Canadian, truly a Canadian, was when Paul Henderson put the puck into the last goal in Russia at the last. I said, wow, it's incredible. I heard everybody scream at the same time. Well, the same thing happened when I saw Ben Johnson win. His arm upright like this, and it was incredible. I could hear the sound of the whole of Canada in front of television, screaming of joy for this victory that's been waiting as we've been carving gold and started all kind of other things. And then, of course, the letdown. The letdown was a national letdown. But there again, you see, you have a collective mind at work. You have a collective emotion spread by the media, picked up, fired back, taking it. And then this incredible working over. I mean, Ben Johnson it took 3 weeks of total and permanent media coverage to get over Ben Johnson. Almost as long as it took us to deal with the election. So it tells you how much there is in that sort of thing. And basically what we're doing now, and this is where polling and rating are very important features of this environment, the electronic environment, is that whereas imaging from television is the technical extension of our imaging process in our mind, polling is our valuation process. Maybe when we evaluate things within ourselves, like we like this guy or not like this guy, or we want we look at the menu and want this or rather than that other dish, maybe there is a polling going on in ourselves. Maybe there is a pulse quantification within the nervous system that decides, okay, I'm going to opt for this dish rather than for that dish. I'm not saying it's working that way. But there is definitely a consortium of all kinds of sensory inputs that make our decisions within ourselves. Again, an example to bring together the workings of the nervous system and the workings of the electronic system in the environment. Now, taken individually, we may not be really considered as bionic people. You remember the bionic woman, Jamie? But collectively, as you try to figure out the huge association between nervous and electric energy, we are unquestionably a bionic society. Unquestionably. And you'll find that the more you understand how the nature-culture differentiation is becoming obsolete, and how much of nature goes into culture and how much of culture goes into nature, to the point where the interdependence is such that if you cut one from the other, you'll starve both systems, you find that the bionic reality of our society at large is considerable. And so the naive, back to nature, away from all technology, the Luddite attitude has become completely irrelevant right now. We can't do without it. We have now being, I do research on the alphabet and the brain. That's my basic starting point. Even if you look at the simple, apparently innocent thing like reading and writing,